So as you can see, I'm just round up my chest freezer. Yep, I'm not in the house, I'm in the garden. So this is where I grow my carrots, and I'm just pulling all my carrots up. I'm going to pull them all up, get them blanched. So you can see that one will get blanched. So some of the smaller ones, we'll just wash them and we'll keep them. Might have them for New Year's dinner, because we are in between New Year's and Christmas at the moment. So this is just an old chest freezer that broke, and I just filled it up with some soil, some sand, but as you can see it's not very full. So I'm hoping if I get all these pulled out, I might get a bit more old compost in it. Got a bit of old compost off the old pepper plants and stuff that were in pots. Just get it topped up a bit, get it cleaned out, get it weeded, do with it being a bit higher. But the good thing about having it in this chest freezer, I don't really have to worry about carrot fly. It's ideal. So I've grown them in here for about 3 years now, and it's always been good. So we'll get these out, we'll get them cleaned off. I'll cut the leaves off out here and just drop them straight into this flower bed I'm stood in. So I'm stood in a flower bed to get to this. It's a good job there's no in this flower bed. I've just been topping it up with some leaves and some grass clippings. Let them break down. They need a good rake about, to be fair. If you're wondering what that pipe is, I had a hose pipe running across to the polytunnel, but the rats decided to chew through it, so I just got some household flexi piping, 15mm, and I've dug it across. It's all to finish off yet, but maybe the moles will dig through it this time. Nah, I think we'll be alright. So anyway, get on with these carrots. It's a bit nippy out here today. So these carrots are going to go in the freezer. The ones I've just pulled out the garden, there's a few little marks on them, but I've just peeled these. The little ones will just be getting washed and eaten, but we're going to freeze these ones, so I'm just going to chop them, I'm going to blanch them. So we'll just be dropping them into a pan of boiling water for 5 minutes, and then running them under cold water to cool them back down, putting them in a freezer bag, chucking them in the freezer. But I'll put them in this pan of water for now. Save putting the cooker onto ice, I'll blanch them while I'm making our tea. But once I start freezing them, I will go back to them after about an hour and rattle the bag up, and I'll keep doing that until they're frozen, because if you just chuck them in a freezer bag and leave them, they'll just all stick together and be all solid. But if you keep rustling them up, moving them about, shaking them, they should freeze without sticking together. Fingers crossed anyway. Better get on. So as you can see, I've just built myself a new bench in the polytunnel, because it is chucking it down today. Well, it's chucking it down every day at the moment, but I've been meaning to do this for a while. So it's all just scrap bits of wood that I've had lying around. Put some legs in, got it as level as possible. So it's just all scrap wood, and the idea is I've got a thin bit of underfloor insulation, the stuff you put underneath laminate. Got a roll of that left over, so I'm going to put that on the bottom. I'm going to put a thin layer of sand on top of that, and then I've got a heat cable. I've just ordered a heat cable because I've got a heat mat, but they're not very big. So I've ordered a heat cable to run through the sand, a bit more sand on top, and then I had a sheet of black plastic, it's there. That is going to sit on top of that, so that when I'm watering, I do not wet the cable or the sand. I mean, it should be alright damp, but I don't want the water just to soak straight into the sand. So I'll water the black plastic and hopefully it's level. That should water it all. So it'd be like taking the water up from the bottom. Like if you sat a plant pot in a tray. And then, not sure how I'm going to do this yet. But I want to cover it in some type of plastic to keep the warmth in, so I can start setting my seeds off earlier. Not quite sure how I'm going to do that. I don't know whether just to hang it up here, just have it drooping over, down the back, over the top, down the front, and then I can just lift the front up. I could even just pin it to the shelf. Not quite sure yet. That shelf might need another strap just in the middle there. It does look like it's got a bit of a sagging. But yeah, so that was today's little project. And now I'm going in to get some dinner. And then I might come back out and do a bit more. Well, if out, I need to tidy up. Because it's a bit of a mess. Anyway, time for some dinner. We'll catch you in a bit. So as you can see, I've now got the sand. I've put this, it's only thin, but it's all about using what we've got laid around. So I'm putting a thin layer of sand on. I'm just using this bit of wood just to pull it across, level it out a bit. Just like the block pavers do when they're doing your nice new drive. Getting it all levelish, not really, doesn't have to be too level. And then when my heat cable comes up, I'll just zigzag it up and down. I think it'll go up and down a few times. Should be here within the week, only just ordered it. I'll put another thin layer of sand on top of that, just so that the heat cable isn't then touching the plastic sheet that I'll put over the top. So we'll get this leveled out. This is yellow sand. I'd have preferred sharp sand, gritty sand, but I had, like I say, it's what we've got laid around. Hopefully I can get a bag of sharp sand to put over the top. Should hold the heat a bit better. So we'll get this leveled out. Fingers crossed it all works. And that heat cable turns up pretty soon. Catch you in a bit. Well, finally the heat cable has come about a week later, and as you can see, I've got it in, not properly, but I've got it lined up. Might just need to try and even it out a bit. I've just put some sand on it for now to hold it in place while I set it out. As you can see, it goes up and down a few times. That needs cutting off, that bit, it keeps flopping off. As you can see, on the last time it only goes halfway, which isn't an issue. It just means one end will be a bit warmer than the other end. So I've just looped it up and down. I've put some damp sand on it, because obviously I did read the instructions first, and it does recommend damp sand. It'll even the heat out better. Obviously when you're doing this, your first job is to make sure that the plug will reach the plug socket. So this is just a soil warmer. I haven't got a thermostat on it. It doesn't say I need one. It does just state that you just can put it straight in. Obviously don't crisscross it or you'll have a hot patch and it could just melt it, and we don't want that. So now I've got it laid down, I will cover it all, probably about 1 centimetre of sand, and then that'll do. And then I'll put my plastic sheet over the top, which I'm going to sit all my trays and toilet roll tubes on, so that I can water the whole thing instead of watering each individual item, pot, tray. I can just water the whole lot and just pour water onto the plastic sheet, and it'll just level itself out and it'll water them all. So it's just a bit like a water tray. That's what I did last year, but I didn't have the heat cable in it last year. I just had a heat mat. But this year, bigger and better. Fingers crossed. And then I did buy a clear plastic sheet. I'm going to cut to size. I'm going to drape it over the top to keep the heat in, or keep a bit of warmth in. And it should keep a bit of humidity in as well. So I best get cracking before this polytunnel blows away, because once again it's chucking it down and it's windy. It's only windy since I've came into the garden, like. It's been quite a nice day. It is still quite warm, so that's a good thing. Right, let's get some sand on here. So I'm just a little bit further on now. I've got this plastic sheet. I'm just draping over the top. It's just on some ropes. It's not the neatest, yes, but it will do the job. So we've just got ropes tied from one side of the polytunnel to the other. This plastic sheet will just drapes over the top, keep a bit of humidity in and keep a bit of warmth in, fingers crossed. I mean, I could make it a lot tidier. I could put a wooden frame around it and do it really neat, but I might do later on, but not this year, I don't think, because the weather we've had at the moment has been absolutely rubbish. We've had high, strong winds. Half the garden's just trashed, so it's depressing at the moment, and I just need to get the garden tidied up, because every time I look at it, it just makes you depressed. And every time I do one thing, the weather turns again, makes it all muddy, the wind picks up, snaps the branches off, blows things over. Yes, probably things that I should have put away or made a bit stronger and stuff like that, but we learn from our mistakes anyway. So the plastic sheet, I'll go over there, lift it up, just drop it back down the front. You've got about 1.5 feet there in the middle of height. You can just pull it all down. Bob's your uncle. Lift it back up. Might get some pegs just to hold it in place when I'm doing stuff in there. But as you can also see, I've got a black bit of plastic on the bottom, some visqueen, and so it's waterproof. So I've got my heat, my sand, my heat cable, which, to be fair, you can't really feel the heat. You can ever so slightly feel the heat through it. So I've never used a heat cable before. I've used heat mats and you can feel the heat in the heat mats. The heat cable, whether I've got a faulty one, I just don't realise. But it's not a lot of heat there. So sand, heat cable, bit more sand, this plastic sheet, which I can just pour water onto there, and hopefully I've got it level. It'll just, like a big water tray. Rather than watering every individual plant, which wouldn't take long, to be fair, watering can straight over it. It also will protect everything underneath. And as you can see, I have got itchy fingers. I have started got some red onions there. All this is like a tray that you'd get mince in, or sometimes you get the bigger ones and you have chicken in them, and I've used them for a lot of years now. Obviously that doesn't have holes in. You can put holes in. You don't have to. If you don't put holes in, just be careful how you water. You don't want them soaking wet. I've got some broccoli. Got a few flowers. Arboreata. Like arboreata, just never any good at growing it. Some white cabbage. Some more onions. Some cauliflower. And another type of cabbage over there. Because these cabbages, I want to try and get a cabbage or a cauliflower out before the butterflies come. So if we can get a crop out quite early before summer, we'll be laughing. Fingers crossed with that. So anyway, I've got a few more seeds to set away. I've got a length of gutter. I want to get some peas set away in. They won't be going under here. They should be all right. I will sit them in the polytunnel. Just give them that boost, get them going. And then, fingers crossed, we get a good harvest. But in the meantime, I'm just going to clean up storm damage. And to be fair, I'm going to go down the other side of the garden where the hot tub is. And because we've got snow coming tomorrow, it's meant to be back down to -5 tomorrow. I'm going to try and get some protective stuff on them. Where the palms and stuff are. Like some of them are hardy, but the red cordylines, well, I think a couple of them are knackered from last time. Hopefully not fully knackered, just the leaves on the top, cut them off, and hopefully it'll shoot up again from the bottom. But if not, never mind. But it's the red cordylines. Never had good success with red cordylines. I don't know if anyone else has. Anyone got any tips? They're in like raised planters, so I'm hoping the whole planter didn't freeze and that the roots are all still good. So we'll go and try and solve a cover for them for next week. Tarpaulin over it. Probably not the best, as long as the wind doesn't pick up and it's just cold, the tarpaulin will stay there. If not, well, we're knackered. The tarpaulin will be in the next field. Be even more depressed then. Anyway, we'll see you all in a bit, and if you've got any tips for them cordylines, let us know. My head's done in with them. Right, got to love you and leave you now in a bit.